going on, everybody? Dave McRae here. Welcome to this live AMA here on this Friday, June the 28th, 2019. And I'm in Freddy Krueger mode tonight. And it was a gorgeous day here today in Toronto. We are in the thick of summer, and it was probably, I don't know what it was in Fahrenheit, but it was like 35 degrees Celsius or something like that. It's well above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, might even be close to 100. It was hot, like probably 93 or 4, whatever it was. It was warm today. And I think some dark clouds have moved in. The humidity has subsided a bit. The humidity. I like to call it the humdiddy. Anyway, hey everybody, how you guys doing? Welcome to this live AMA. Today, I want to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street and kind of where the state of the franchise is at the moment and where I think they probably need to go. This is interesting because, arguably Freddy Krueger is, hang on, actually, before I get to that, I brought out a couple of things I wanted to show you. An old VHS of Cujo. Check that out. Look how shiny that is. It's in really good shape. Cujo, folks. Pretty cool. And also the extended edition TV version of John Carpenter's Halloween. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'm pretty sure all you fans have seen it. But for those of you that don't know, the scene in this extended cut... Oh, look at that. I'm doing air quotes with the Freddy glove. The scene in this extended version where Laurie is coming down the stairs, she has her hair up in a towel, and Linda comes to the door and she's like, oh my God, there's some creepy guy that's been following me. You know the scene I'm talking about. Well, the interior of where they shot that was actually the interior of the real Elm Street house. The actual Elm Street house, that is the actual interior of that house. That's what the actual interior looks like. Now, in the Elm Street movie and movies, the interiors were sound stages, and they just used the exterior. So kind of cool. So yeah, the Halloween extended TV version. And of course, my two favorite Elm Street films. I do like A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as well. I do admit, you cannot not like Dream Warriors, right? I mean, it's a classic. It's sort of the nice hybrid between, it's like that sweet spot. It's that nice sort of, it's still creepy, it's still scary, not quite as dark and as creepy as the first two films, but it's still got some creep and some darkness to it, with a little bit of that sort of like, I don't want to say comedy, I think that's too strong a word, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, just that nice sort of hybrid of both a bit. We kind of see Robert Englund, the character of Freddy sort of, unfortunately, in my opinion, kind of going that route a little bit. And then, of course, by 4, the Dream Master, it's like full-on MTV Freddy, and although there's a few redeeming qualities in that movie, I'm not really a big fan of anything past 3. But my two favorites of the series are undoubtedly A Nightmare on Elm Street and A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And these are the original VHS boxes of each film. And this is, to be fair, I probably didn't purchase this in 1984. But on the back here, it says 1987. So, I obviously got it like a couple years later. This is from the 80s, which is pretty cool stuff. And, that's, that's what it looks like on the back there. I always remember that as a kid when I'd go into the video store and I'd see the box and I'd take the box from the shelf and I'd look at the back and I'd be like, wow. I always remember that, seeing that going, ooh, it's creepy. And then, of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, the original cover of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. You rarely see that cover nowadays. There's so many different versions of all these, films in terms of their foreign poster art and their fan art and all that kind of stuff. You very rarely see the original cover art of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but that was it. And I always found the 2 way down there. I don't know if you can see it. The 2, it's so kind of lame. Even in the opening credits, it's like, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. It's this little 2, and I'm like, you can't be a little... Anyway, it was the 80s. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, and that's the back there. And this is an original 80... What is this? 80... Let's see on the back there. See here? 88. So, I mean, that's the real deal right there, folks. Anyway, yeah, so I want to talk A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, before I get to your questions, because I am going to, here's my thoughts. Here are my thoughts. We have a lot of work to do, you and I. Talking about Elm Street. Isn't that right, Freddie? That's right. You are all my viewers now. Anyway, so I just can't help it. It comes over me when I've got the glove on. It's like, it's like just there. It's like, anyway, so here are my thoughts. Okay, yes, I am a big fan of the original Elm Street. It's my favorite, followed by Part 2. Now, I know that Part 2 is usually people's least favorite of the series, and there's a variety of reasons for that. But it was actually... I think it might have been the first Elm Street film that I saw, and then I saw Part 1. But that aside, I've come to appreciate the film more and more over the years. And you can make an argument that the Freddy Krueger in Elm Street 2, it's close, but you could make the argument that he is even more terrifying. I'm not talking about the plot necessarily being more terrifying, although there are moments where it's like, fuck, that's fucked up. You can make the argument that Freddy Krueger in Elm Street 2 is more terrifying than he was in Part 1. I mean, just the makeup job they did on Robert Englund. He is terrifying to look at. He is just frightening. And you know the scene I'm talking about. You guys remember the scene that just gets me every time at the pool party, right? Where he's walking away and the dad, he's got the shotgun and he shoots something off the table, completely misses him. And Robert Englund is there like this, right? Is there like this, and the flames are in the foreground. He's got that weird, he's like, who is this guy? Like, look at him. He's so creepy and eerie and wow, is that what, who is he? What is he? You know what I mean? It's fucking frightening. And of course, you can dive into the homosexuality undertones or overtones, depending on how you look at it. And certainly, there's a lot that I can dive into if this was an Elm Street 2. I actually have a Saturday movie night on my channel where I talk all about that film. So check it out if you want me to go into detail there. But definitely the first 2 films are my favorite. And when I look at the Elm Street series as a whole, I think that Freddy Krueger, I don't want to strip... If I was in charge of sort of rebooting the series, even though I love the Freddy from Part 1 and 2, and there's very little comedy in those 2 films, there's a few little things that are kind of fun. Watch this. Things like that. I mean, there's some few little things, but overall he's frightening, right? So my advice would be, I would take it as this: we can't strip everything away, like all the one-liners or the comedic side to him. I wouldn't want to strip it all away, because certainly you'd piss a lot of people off. But at the same time, where Freddy ended up in Freddy's Dead is just jumping the shark or nuking the fridge from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right? It's just way too much. The makeup is atrocious. It looks like he's just full of bubble gum on his face. He's sitting, we see him in like bright light and shit, and it was awful. It was fucking awful. So that's like the extreme of where we don't want to go. My advice would be to dial, now I'm talking about the character now first, okay? To dial him back, pull him right back to like have a remnants of the Freddy that people came to know. So you pull him back into kind of like a hybrid between 2 and 3, like somewhere in there. I think not 3, not fully 3, because I think he was more frightening in 2 and arguably in 1, but somewhere kind of in there, pull him right back and just kind of push it somewhere in that zone and see where we're sitting. Okay, because you don't want to pick up from where we left off in part 6. Now, you could say New Nightmare, but New Nightmare is almost like its own thing, right? It's a breaking of the fourth wall. It's almost like a spoof, if I could use that, but I don't mean that in a comedy sense. But it certainly was an interesting take. He's definitely frightening in that film, but it's a breaking of the fourth wall, sort of, oh, here's a different kind of scenario. Imagine if it was all fake and they're playing, fictional versions of themselves and yada, yada, yada. And that's cool and all, but I sort of leave New Nightmare kind of as its own sort of thing. I don't really include that in the original series. I like to think of the original series as 1 to 6. So that's how I would approach Freddy. So we got to dial him right back. He's got to be frightening. This is a nightmare on Elm Street. It's not a fluffy dream on Elm Street, as you've heard me say before. So we gotta pull him back. We have to make him frightening again. If I had a Donald Trump hat that said "Make America Great Again," I'd change it to "Make Freddy Scary Again." That's essentially what I would change it to, right? Because that's what we gotta pull him back. He is he's gotta be, I mean, just that fucking he's gotta be scary. The tone of the film now, at least the first film, it's got to be, and again, I'm approaching this from a rebooting perspective, because at the end of the day, folks, I think that's what you need to do. I know there are a lot of people in the chat room right now, and a lot of people that will no doubt disagree with me, and that's fine. That's fine. You can completely disagree with me if you want. I can't take that away from you. But as much as it would be cool from a nostalgic perspective to see Robert Englund as Freddy again, where do you go from that, right? Unless Robert Englund wants to play Freddy 6 more times or 5 more times, I say you just reboot the series. Because, could you make a really cool Elm Street film with Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund, kind of do what you did with Halloween? Maybe. But at the end of the day, even Robert has said, I might have one more in me, but I have no desire to do this over and over again. It's the same thing that Nick Castle said. I mean, these guys are in their 70s, guys, okay? And Nick Castle said, I have no interest. No offense, everybody. I know you love me, right? But I have no interest at getting up, because most of the horror movies and Halloween stuff takes place at night, right? I have no interest at getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning and being out in the cold at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, shooting, stopping and starting and starting and stopping and stopping and waiting and sitting and makeup. He has no interest in doing that. If he was 30 years younger, maybe. He's like 2 or however old he is. And I think the same goes with Robert Englund. He's like, yeah, maybe I could do one more, but I mean, there's just the thought at my age of sitting in a makeup chair at, 4 o'clock in the morning, spending 6 hours in a chair doing this every day for, 6 to 8 weeks. It's just not something that he's been there, done that. He has nothing to prove. So, and even Robert Englund would tell you that there is absolutely a talented actor out there that can take on the reins and do it. So I'm always of the belief that I come at it from the perspective that you need to reboot it, because I think that ultimately, but there's a multitude of reasons why the 2010 film failed. But you need to reboot it. And I believe that there is another actor out there that can don the glove, don the fedora, and do justice to Freddy Krueger. And I'm in good company in believing that, because Robert Englund believes that as well. So now you don't have to think that. That's fine, that's fair, but definitely there is somebody else that can do a hell of a job and do justice to that character. And unless you're going to bring Robert back 10 more times or 4 more times, you don't want to make one with him and then have to make a sequel without him, basically is what I'm trying to say. Because then it's going to throw the fandom off, it's going to throw the continuity off, people are going to be pissed. So I just think, just make look, winning solves everything. winning solves everything, right? Winning solves everything. And that's the bottom line, is that if you make a good movie, that's what it's about. You make a good movie and that's what it's about. It solves everything. So just make a really good movie. And when you make a good movie, people are not going to care. You make an Elm Street that's frightening, that's pulled back, right? And what I mean by pulled back is that the first Elm Street is frightening because I would want to approach a reboot from the perspective of, let's not go crazy with the dream sequences, okay? Because by part 4 and 5 and 6, Freddy was really no longer the star. It was the it was like, what crazy, wild, fucked up, massive, outlandish, sensational dream sequence can we pull off? And okay, but it's just like they kept trying to top each other as each movie went along, that they lost the crux of what made Elm Street so frightening. When you watch that first Elm Street from 1984, it is frightening. I mean, again, it's frightening in its relative nature. Think about it in 1984. Think of you, if you're not old enough, I was 5, but think about it relative to its time. No one had seen anything like that before. No one had seen anybody, on a ceiling, blood-curdling screams. Nobody had seen it. It was frightening, and that's a dream sequence. Now, what's happening to her is sensational, but the dream itself, what's surrounding it, it's the crazy in the normal. It's the crazy within the mundane, the crazy within the normality. And that's what dreams are usually like, right? When you have nightmares, you're not usually dreaming wild Hollywood over the top. They're usually, because dreams come from your subconscious, it's usually things that you've experienced in your day-to-day life that start to implement themselves into your subconscious, and they come out in dreams. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't certain things that might be a little exaggerated, but they're not like you're in some fucking fairy tale world necessarily, right? So when you watch that first Elm Street, Nancy falls asleep in class. What happens? She sees Tina in the body bag. Nancy, but look at her surroundings. It's all in the school. It's so grounded in reality. All the dreams are so what we would actually dream. I could totally see having a dream like that. A friend of mine dies. I witness it. I go to bed or I fall asleep in class. That is like a dream you would have. You suddenly have a dream of your friend in a body bag calling to you. You're not having a dream on some wild, crazy set with crazy pyrotechnics and things happening. It's the creepiness in the normal day-to-day life. That's what made the opening of Halloween so creepy and crazy for its time, is that when Michael removes the mask, oh my God, it's a 6-year-old child. It's normal parents on a normal street with a normal small, wartime home, and in this normal town where nothing bad happens, and this horrific thing happens. It's the contrast, right? It's that contrast painting up against that backdrop that's frightening, and that's part of what made Elm Street so frightening, is that the dreams were so realistic nightmares, right? Now, did they get a little sensational when they pulled Glenn through the bed? Sure, but when you compare that, but we've all had dreams of us falling, right? Where, all of a sudden we're on a cliff and we jump, or, whatever the case is. So, it just seemed more grounded to me. And Freddy, because he was kept in shadow and he was dark, and it just seemed much more scary. Freddy wasn't scary by part 4. It was MTV Freddy. And same with part 5. He was hardly in part 5. And certainly with part 6. So that's what I would do. Pull him back, pull the dream sequences back, and go small. Make it for like $10 million. Make it, I'm not saying that you get A24 to do it, but it's got that small independent vibe to it. It's frightening. It's psychologically frightening. This is a nightmare. So do you have to entertain a little bit with the dream sequences? Sure. Okay, yeah, we want the dream sequences to be fun or not fun, but frightening, interesting. Okay, that's fine. But dreams and nightmares are all about the psyche and the subconscious and the psychological, ramifications of that. So A Nightmare on Elm Street shouldn't be this teen horror movie. It should be this real frightening psychological horror. And I'm not talking about like Seven. I'm not talking about that kind of film. It's still a slasher movie, but there's that element where it's like, this is fucked up. Like, this is frightening. Freddy is frightening as hell. So that's how I think you need to approach it. And if you make a really scary film where do you remember what I said when it came to the Child's Play remake? Okay. For those of you that may not know, because I made a couple of Child's Play videos on this channel, I said, if you can walk out of the theater going, you know what? That was all right. I enjoyed that. That was pretty good. Then it's a win, because they're already behind the 8 ball. Child's Play 2019, and I said this months ago, does not need and did not need to be amazing. Not at all. Look at what they're up against. It didn't need to be fucking incredible and blow you away. It didn't need to do that. It just needed to be pretty good. I enjoyed that. And I think although some people didn't like it, there are many people that are saying, you know what? That wasn't bad. That was pretty good. I think if we can walk away from Elm Street with the same mind frame, just the same thing, like, you know what? That was all right. That was scary. That was pretty good. Then it's a win, but you got to go back to the roots. You got to go back to the roots. I mean, this is A Nightmare on, look at this. Think about this. Look at that contraption. Look at this weapon. This has to be scary. There's so many times in the later sequels where he doesn't even use this. He puts meatballs on the end that are going, and sure, is it cool? Is it a cool effect? Yes. But there's nothing particularly scary about it. At least in my opinion, this has got to be scary. Do you remember in the bathtub, Nancy, and all you saw was this? Duh. Like, oh, fuck. I can only imagine in 1984 sitting in a theater going, oh, shit. Wake up! Oh my God, that's frightening. I guarantee you there were women all over the world back then who were like, I'm not fucking taking a bath for like a month, right? Frightening. This has got to be frightening again. Not just some, accessory that he just happens to have on his hand and that every now and then he goes, No, this is not scary in and of itself. It's how you utilize it and make us afraid, make us petrified of what this could do. Look what happened to Tina in the bed. We don't even see the glove, and we see the razors cut her chest and the pool of blood just pour in. That's what I'm fucking talking about. And I'm not saying it was never utilized in the later sequels past 4, 5, and 6. But it was like an accessory. It's like a tie on somebody's shirt or something, So that always bothered me. So I think personally you need to reboot the franchise, but you got to go back to the dark psychological roots of A Nightmare on Elm Street, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and make it, genuinely frightening. And less is more in that kind of regard, because you tap into this, get into our heads. You don't need to make it Alice in Wonderland dreamlike. You don't have to do that. I don't want to see that. I want to be afraid, very afraid. And at the end of the day, if I can walk out of a theater going, you know what? The guy that played Freddy was pretty good. He was pretty good. The movie wasn't bad. It was pretty good. And you know what? There was some genuine, I think this thing's going to do all right. And that's the least we can ask for. That's the least we can ask for, right? Just don't make the Elm Street reboot in 2010 failed. There's a few reasons why, but none of the reasons really had to do with Jackie Earle Haley. Although I know some people were like, oh, that's not Freddy, and it was a little strange, right? It's like watching the new Chucky. It's like, oh, this is a new incarnation. Not feeling it. That's fair. But what he did was great. He did a great job. But there was no, we were just sort of thrust upon these kids already being affected by Freddy. There was no point where we could go on that journey together and watch that transition. Nancy was already fucking freaking out, right? And Glenn, I think his name was Glenn. I think they kept all the same names, right? I think. Anyway, all her friends and her boyfriend, all were already there. We're already fucked up. It was like emo Elm Street. That was like Elm Street 2010. It was like emo Elm Street. Like everybody was all... Like they're already fucked up. And although there were some cool sequences, I didn't feel any emotional attachment because I never saw the transition from happy-go-lucky girl or guy to, oh my God, this is really affecting me psychologically. And think what you could do with that. Think to put us in the same position as those characters, to live vicariously through those characters, to watch that psychological downfall, to watch them not sleeping, to watch that transition, to watch the effect that Freddy is having on them is just, that's part of what I think a reboot needs to have. I believe 100% that it can be done. 100%. Some of you may not agree. A lot of you may not. That's fair. But I believe it can absolutely be done. But you have to scare us. Okay. I know Freddy became sort of a carnival act by the end of part 6. I get it. But you're most successful. I mean, the Freddy needs to be frightening. He needs to be somebody we can be afraid of. Okay. And the thumbnail to this live stream, right? With Freddy like this. I mean, look at that thumbnail. Frightening. Frightening as hell. That's what he needs to look like. He needs to look frightening. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that's sort of how I feel about it. What direction you go in, in terms of what the narrative and story would be. Obviously, you don't want to make a carbon copy of the original film. You take inspiration from it and you make it your own, but you utilize the important elements of the psychological aspects of nightmares, and you make Freddy scary again. And as much fun as it would be from a nostalgic perspective, as my 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old self would love to see Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund in a movie together. I mean, it's a one-trick pony. Because unless you just don't care about it and you're like, no, I would sacrifice having Freddy Krueger films if I could see Robert one more time, Heather, one more time. Maybe it's a direct sequel to part 3, right? So, there's like its own, they negate part 2. So you have like part 1, part 3, and this new one, and I'd be okay. Yep. I'd be fine. I'd be perfectly fine. Okay. But I just don't know if I want to see 75-year-old Freddy Krueger. I mean, he did okay on the Goldbergs, but he looked, put on a little weight there, he's looking a little older, right? So I just think the best thing you can do is to take it seriously, cast well, do your due diligence, take your time, write a frightening script, and surprise the hell out of each and every one of us. And that's what I think they need to do personally. As much as a swan song, from the nostalgia would be cool, I just don't think it's the right thing to do because it's a one-trick pony, because I don't think Robert's going to come back for more. I really don't. And then where are you at? Now you want to make a sequel to that movie. Well, now you got to recast anyway. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. Let's go to the comments section and see what you guys are saying. Now that I've talked half an hour about that, you guys are awesome. There was a super chat that came in here. Let me see if I got the glove on this hand. So let me see if I can go back to the super chat. Here it is. Super chat was Gotham Guy. Who would you choose as a director, successor? As a director for Elm Street? I have no idea. I really don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, but I have no idea. Right now, I would be more focused on getting a great script. Because I think it's important that and casting well. Getting a solid script and casting well. And then we can look at a director. And that's important. That's how I see it anyway. Let's see here. Tiger Man says, hey, Dave. Zero OM says, Jesus, you can talk even underwater. Yes, I can. Damn fucking right I can. Let's see here. Hey, man, when you're doing a YouTube channel and a live stream, what do you want? You want me to not talk? Come on! You think I was a voice actor or something. Mikey Film says, how's it going, Dave? Good, Mikey, how are you? Slaughter Cinema says, Robert Englund went on record earlier this year and said he feels for every main protagonist there should be a unique, different-looking Freddy. Thoughts? I understand why he says that. That's fine, and I get why he says that. Because, again, that's going back to the psychological component of what he's talking about. There is a bit of validity into what he's talking about, because obviously everybody is going to interpret, because Freddy essentially isn't real, and there's some people can say, well, he can show up looking like however he wants. Yeah, I get that in theory, but at the end of the day, you still need him to be frightening. Okay, Freddy's not Pennywise, all right? He needs to be frightening. Okay, Pennywise in the sense of that he can show up looking like, I guess he could show up theoretically looking like anything, but we don't want to go down that road. We want to keep Freddy as the main antagonist. And although I get what Robert Englund is saying, unless there is evidence to the contrary, I don't buy that is why Freddy looked different in each and every movie. Not at all. I just think it was the natural evolution of the makeup and the makeup artists putting their own stamp on it. That's what it really came down to. I don't think it was like, well, in this movie, we have, Lisa Wilcox is good, and then, she's suffering from this, and, when you suffer from that, you have hard time seeing that level of, colors, and that may, no, not at all. It was just the natural evolution of the makeup, and each makeup artist was doing their own thing. So I get what he's saying, and although that could be true, but I think you need to keep him pretty consistent. A few things can change, maybe, but keep him pretty consistent, because he's the brand, and I think he needs to be consistent and consistently scary, in my opinion. Let's see here. Kills4748 says, hey, Dave, are you going to watch Midsummer on opening night? I know I am. Probably not opening night, but I'm definitely going to see it. Movie Chat and More says, if I was to have Nightmare Marathon, it would be 1, 3, and New Nightmare. Yeah, I don't know what I would do. Definitely 1 and 2 for sure. 3 probably. I'd probably watch all of them. I don't mind watching 1 to 4. There's something about 5 I just don't like. And 6 is a fucking shit show. 6, ladies and gentlemen, just like this shot glass here. A lot of people, when I posted this, didn't think it was a shot glass. Oh, it's a shot glass. Look how tiny that is. Welcome to the shit show. That's right, folks. We've got a lot of work to do, you and I. You are all my children now. Let me take off this glove so I can actually put my right hand on the mouse here and pour myself some water. I love this fucking thing. Exact replica of the first Elm Street glove from part 1. I love this fucking thing. And I might get another one as well. I might do that. I'm going to pour myself some water. I know, it's just water, folks, but got to have water when you're doing a live stream. Right into the shot glass. All right. If you're drinking tonight, everybody, cheers. Cheers, all you sexy motherfuckers. All right. What do we got here? Let's see here. Cinema of the Dead says, did you end up watching the new Annabelle movie for Tony? No, I have not watched it yet. I'm not a big Annabelle fan, so it's going to take me a little bit to go see it, but Tony is he's like, dude, you got to go see it in Taiwan. I'm like, all right. I'll think about it. I got some time. Maybe this week I might check it out. Let's see here. Let me scroll back and see what we got. Andy E says, a really idiotic question. There are no idiotic questions. Well, there are idiotic questions. But since you're a voice genius, well, I don't know if I'd go that far. Ever tried to do our all favorite Busta Rhymes line with Trump's voice? No, I haven't. Trick or treat, motherfucker. There's Trump. It's okay. It's amazing. It's huge. It's fucking great, okay? Fuck you, you piece of shit. Donald Trump. And again, that's like a caricature cartoon version of Donald Trump. I'm not trying to do an actual impersonation of Donald Trump. I'm not an impressionist, folks. If I was going to imitate somebody well known, I do like a caricature version, like some version you'd hear on like a cartoon. You know what I mean? Like on Family Guy or something. You know, it doesn't sound exactly like the person, but you know that's who it's supposed to be. All right. It's great. Let's see here. What do we got? Keep those questions coming, ladies and germs. Dan Curley says, what do you think of the new sequel to Halloween 2018? What do you think they will go into? Oh, I have no idea. Dan, it's so funny. People want to know my thoughts on this. I don't have any thoughts. I tried my best to break the story as inconspicuously as I could. Although Collider was the first one that broke it officially, I actually broke it a couple of days prior, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to have my tweet taken down or asked to be taken down or whatever it was. So I tried to be inconspicuous about it. I had a very trusted source that told me, yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. So if you follow me on Twitter, those were my tweets where I said, you know, trusted source fall 2020. And then I made another tweet and blah, blah, blah. Now that was the only information I knew. I didn't know that David Gordon Green was supposedly coming back and all that kind of shit. I wasn't privy to that, but I have no thoughts on it. I couldn't care less whether they made a sequel or not. I didn't like the 2018 film enough to give a shit whether they made another one or not. I'm not saying I hated the movie. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine for a modern day horror movie, but I don't think it's a very good Halloween movie based on the stuff that came prior to it. I think there should have been more. I think there should have been more meat on the bone. So I'll cover the news here for the 2018 film, of course, because it's a Halloween movie. So it's always exciting to talk Halloween and, you know, what they're going to do. And maybe this sequel, maybe this will be a really good movie, right? Who knows, right? Of course I'm going to cover it and talk about it and all that juicy fun shit. But I don't have any thoughts beyond that right now because that's just it. The information's like, okay, well, yeah, that's it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Grave Warmer says Paul Rudd Ghostbusters 2020 I don't know. I don't know. Paul Rudd, he's good. I guess he's fun to watch. I don't know. It's all about, is he right for this character? You know, but it's a Ghostbusters movie and you add Paul Rudd, he's funny, fun to watch, talented. Yeah, I guess it's fine, I guess. Couldn't care less whether he was in the movie or not. I mean, if they said, oh, you know what, Paul Rudd's had to back out because of scheduling conflicts, I wouldn't be like, oh, fuck. No, I'd be like, well, okay, whatever. Like, I don't care. Now, if they said something like, if they confirm that Bill Murray is in the movie and he has to back out, then I'm like, that shit, because he's more vital to the root. So, let me see here. William Goldschmidt says, Dave, did the jump scares in the new Child's Play piss you off? Love your channel. Not really, because I wasn't Child's Play. No, because it was a new, because I don't think there was a lot of them, and it was a completely new take. You know, it was like if there ever was a reimagining, this would be it. Like, I don't consider like Rob Zombie's Halloween was a reimagining. I just didn't like what he was reimagining. I didn't like it because I thought it destroyed the fundamental principle of what made Halloween and Myers scary in the first place. Like, you can reimagine something, fine, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. And I didn't think it worked. With the Child's Play film, I actually thought it worked. So it didn't really bother me at all. If they were just completely remaking it and doing the same story and narrative, it might have ticked me off a little bit, but not really as a whole. I didn't really care. Let's see here. Let's see. Mike Johnson says, make Nightmare on Elm Street in the present day. The story of Nancy Thompson is a legend and a myth. Then it starts happening to a new person, validating that this Freddy Krueger is real. Yeah, you could do that. Sure, you could do that. That's an interesting premise. Stephen Dowdy says, how do you think Halloween will last? How do you think Halloween will last while Michael? You mean with Michael? I don't think it will. I think it's inevitable that, look, when they make the next, I guarantee you can take this to the bank. Blumhouse will continue to make Halloween films as long as it continues to make money. And I guarantee you that eventually you will find yourself right back where you started. The only way to avoid it is to stop making Halloween films. And that doesn't mean that the next film is not going to be good, and maybe the next one after that will be pretty good. But if you think they're going to get another 7 or 8 movies out of this, you're drunk. Like, I mean, it's just not going to happen. Eventually, weird shit's going to start to see, and you're going to find yourself right back where you started. So, no, Michael has a shelf life. So, that's my opinion anyway. Let me see here. Who should I answer here? I'll make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, Aaron Keller. I did miss. Super chat from Aaron Keller. Any luck with the links I sent you in the part 2? Yeah, no, I looked into that. I haven't contacted Dark Ride yet, Aaron, but I plan on doing that. I would rather get something that's new rather than used, unless it's something that can be absolutely proven in a video and pictures that it's in phenomenal shape. I would much rather maybe spend, because there are people that are spending, look, there are people on eBay that are selling their used masks, silicone. Of course, eBay is all about the highest, bit. It's like $700, $800. I'm like, I'm not going to spend that much when I can get it new for, a little bit less or, whatever it is. So I'm never of the mindset that I'm going to buy something used when I have no idea, oh no, it's in good shape. Yeah, but I don't know that. I mean, you've shown me pictures, but I don't know for sure until I get into my hands. So I'd rather get in touch with the guy at Dark Ride. I don't know if he's still, I've heard he's sort of calmed down. He's not really posting on his Facebook page now or something to that effect. So I'm not 100% sure whether he's still doing it, but, yeah, if I was to get a part 2 from him, you bet your ass I'd be doing a few Freddy videos for sure. Super chat just came in from David Lee Barron. Thanks, David. Would you be excited if James Wan were to direct a nightmare movie? Do you think he could do a Friday movie also? I don't know if Wan is the right choice for Elm Street. Because Wan hasn't done a Well, no, that's not true. You know what? I take that back. He did the very first Saw, and the very first Saw was frightening. I saw the very first Saw movie in the theater back in 2004. And I mean, it's so unfortunate that movie had a bunch of, that ending is so great. It would have, I mean, imagine if that was the only film. It's so amazing. Anyway, Juan has sort of moved away from that kind of horror. He did the first 2 Insidious films. He did the first 2 Conjuring films. He's doing more of the supernatural stuff, and there is a supernatural element to Freddy, but you got to go, like, he would have to go back to his Saw roots. Like, it has to be intense, frightening, legitimately frightening. Not sort of fun scary like the Conjuring and the Insidious films are. It's got to be downright frightening. So, and he's moved away from that. He's been far removed from that. So I don't know if he'd be and same with Friday the 13th. So I'm not 100% sure whether he'd be the right guy for the job, but we'll see. Oh, Aaron says, I just purchased one from him. Oh, great. Okay, so he's still doing it. Awesome. Well, then I will make sure to try and get in touch with him then. Mangrove Pierce says, Dave, wants a Dark Ride Studio Freddy Part 2 silicone mask. This is not going to be easy, and I don't think this guy makes masks anymore. Well, apparently, according to Aaron Keller, who is a Freddy Krueger cosplayer, and a good one, I might add, says he just purchased a mask from the guy. So, but you're right, the Part 2s, to find a Part 2, I'd take a Part 1 as well. Like, if there is a Part 1 Elm Street silicone mask, I will take it. Either part one or I say part two a lot because it's just he's so frightening, right? But I take a part one. You know what I mean? Part one or two is what I would take. And then, yeah, because that would be fun to have. I'd do a whole fucking show in that mask. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It might be a little hot. Electric Drive-In says, Dave, I still insist that the ultimate Elm Street sequel should include Nancy, Jesse, and Alice. Do the one-off movie and then the reboot. Do you have any interest in seeing that collaboration? Well, yeah, but it's just, I mean, it's exactly what you said. It's a swan song for nothing more than making money. And I don't know if the studios would risk doing that, making boatloads of money, and then cutting ties with that and doing something completely different and rebooting it all together when you've just established something that, I mean, imagine if they decided to reboot Halloween right now. Imagine if they said, no, we're not for those of you that like the 2018 film, for those of you that loved the 2018 film, okay? And I know there's a number of you in this chat room right now. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying out of the 204 people that are watching, there's got to be a handful of you that loved the 2018 film and are excited for this sequel. Well, imagine if they said, you know what? Fuck that. We're not making a sequel. No, it's done. We gave you what you wanted. We gave you a little bit of Nick Castle. We gave you a little bit of John Carpenter. We gave you a little bit of Laurie Strode with Jamie Lee Curtis. We gave you, a little bit of this, that, and the other. And that's it. We gave you that swan song. That's it. See ya. Now we're rebooting Halloween all over again. Now, for some people that might be like, oh yeah, great, another opportunity to get it right. But for people who really enjoyed that movie, it piss you off. You'd be like, what the fuck? You're rebooting it again? So now we're getting another Halloween again, right? So I think that if you were to remake it and it's successful, I don't see them, but at the same time, I don't see these people wanting to continue on either. So I just think the best thing to do at this stage of the game is to reboot, but do it right. Do it right. Reboot it, but do it right. That's what you need to do. That's what it's all about. Because winning solves everything. It really does. Look at all of you that were like, fucking Child's Play, man. And you're like, I fucking go see Child's Play. I'm gonna sit here in the fucking chair and eat my popcorn. And fucking son of a bitch. Open my Coke. Watch the new Child's Play movie. 90 minutes later. It was actually pretty good. I actually really enjoyed that. That was actually all right. And some people were like, I kind of love that. That was really good, right? So, I mean, I just think the best thing to do is to reboot it. Because if you do it right, that's what happens. Lee Bowers says, I love it. Hey Dave, I can't wait till the Halloween 2018 sequel. Hopefully they don't rush the movie and take their time. Well, we were just talking about that. See, there's a guy right there. Lee Bowers, who'd probably be pissed off if they decided not to make a sequel to it. Darren Sands is in the house. Alexander Aja would be a great, am I saying that right? I'm probably not saying that right. Would be a great choice for an Elm Street reboot. High Tension. Oh, yes, the High Tension, The Hills Have Eyes, and Piranha. Are all solid movies remakes. His new project, Crawl, The Alligators, looks promising too. I was not aware that he was the guy that... High Tension is one of my favorite psychological horror films of all time. 2003, I think. That was a movie that... I love that film. If you guys have not seen High Tension or its other name, Switchblade Romance... You've got to check that out. It is a psychological horror film, and Darren is right. The tone of a movie like that, and what I mean by that is how serious and grounded they take it. Like it's got this serious tone to the film. It's not a campy teen horror movie. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would entertain that thought. That's not bad, Darren. That's not bad. Super chat from Ethan LeBlanc. Thank you, Ethan. Much appreciated. Hey, Dave, I heard that the Friday the 13th rights battle has gotten even worse recently. Any thoughts, outlook on that? Thanks. Stay sharp. That's right. I wish I had my stay sharp. Haha. I think Sean S. Cunningham and Victor Miller need to just fucking like go out for a couple of beers, go to a strip club, call a truce, and just let it go. Like, I mean, it's just, and I understand that I think most people side with Victor Miller. I think, from what I've been reading, from my understanding, I think most people do. But there are some people that side with Cunningham as well. And I think at the end of the day, there are arguments to be made on both sides that I get, that I understand, which is why it's taking so long. And they feel very passionate about it. Another thing that drives this, not only is it extremely lucrative, not only has the series been extremely lucrative for both Victor Miller and Cunningham, when you look at their careers, they have done other things, but this is their bread and butter. This is their legacy. This is their claim to fame. If you ran into Sean S. Cunningham and you had no idea who he was, and he said to you, I'm a filmmaker, I've done some Hollywood films, and you asked him, oh, what have you done? What do you think the first thing he's going to say is? What do you think it's going to be? Friday the 13th. Of course. It's one of the greatest horror slasher films of all time. And it spawned a series that is just iconic, right? Victor Miller, same thing. I wrote Friday the 13th. I created the character of Jason, or whatever, or I did this, that, and whatever. He's done other things as well. But this is so a part of it is yes, it's lucrative, but as they get older, as they're older men now, this is their legacy at stake. And it's personal to them. It's very personal. So it's not just about getting rights and making sure that I have the rights to this and you have the rights that, no, I did this. No, but I did this. No, but you did that and I did this. But don't you remember when I did this, you did this, and then I did that. Oh, come on, Victor. You know that you did that. And then when I was doing this, I get it. But it's a double-edged sword, man. It's lucrative. They want, yeah, fuck, no, that's yours. That's this. I get this. You get that. But they're older now, and it's like, fuck, no, we want, this is our legacy. I mean, how old's Cunningham? He's got to be in his 70s. Same with Miller, at least. So, I don't know. I think it's unfortunate. I'll be honest with you. I really don't have any trust or confidence at the moment that they would reboot Friday the 13th in a successful way. I really don't. So I'm just like, okay, but I do think it is unfortunate for those who are dying for a Friday the 13th film. And of course, until it does get solved, they can't do it right either. So they can't do justice to a remake either until it's solved. So I am hoping it gets solved, but that's sort of my thought on it. I mean, I see both sides. I just wish they would come to an agreement, but I understand it's really personal now. It's really personal, especially at this stage of the game. It's about money too, yes, but it's about principle too. And it's it's tough. That's my informed guesstimate, let's say. Obviously, I don't know these two personally, but I think there's a good chance that there's a little bit, it means something now that they're older. Super chat just came in, 20 pounds. Thank you very much, Oliver Mercer. Much appreciated. Hey, Dave, I think they should delete every sequel after 3. Place it 35 years on. Robert Englund could pass his evil spirit to another killer. Yeah, I'm not crazy on the whole passing the spirit on to an evil killer kind of thing, man. That resembles him, plus have Kristen save Nancy from the same nightmare 35 years on. I was with you. Like, I like the idea. I'm not going to say I like the idea, but I could understand the idea of doing the swan song. Look, it worked for Halloween. They could have done that with Child's Play. They couldn't actually have done that with Child's Play because of the rights there. But I'm saying theoretically, if Don Mancini wanted to, redo the whole thing. You know, they could have done that sort of thing with Child's Play. You bring back Catherine Hicks, I believe her name was. You bring back the kid that played Andy. You could have done that, although I understand why he doesn't want to do that. He's totally off over here. But you look at Halloween and you think it worked for Halloween. Do you do that with Friday the 13th? You know, Elm Street's interesting because you can find your in point. You know, it's like playing that game where you're like, what's that game? You have to know your in point. Like, oh no, it's like jump rope, right? Where, the kids would be outside at recess time, they're jumping rope and you gotta, jump in. I never did that, but I'd watch the girls playing that, and you'd find the, double Dutch, I think they'd call it or something. So there's definitely an in point for Elm Street. And I think the end point is doing a sequel to part 3 and pretending 4, 5, and 6 never happened. Now, you'd piss off a lot of people. But if you were going to do a swan song to the Elm Street series, I think you should probably do it after 3, maybe after 4. Maybe because there is some continuity with 3 at the beginning of 4. It sucks that they killed everybody in the first 10 minutes of that movie. But there is continuity there. But I could understand if they went, no, this is like you have 1, you have 3, and then you have this. So it's almost like its own trilogy. I could understand that. But having Englund pass his spirit on, no, because it's Robert Englund. It's Fred Krueger, who was the child murderer, right? I don't like the idea of him passing his child murderer spirit off to somebody else that looks like him. Not a big fan of that. So I'd have to disagree on that. I get what you're saying, and I like that you're thinking about it. I like that you made a super chat, you put yourself out there, and you gave an idea. But I think for me, kind of like, not quite crazy on that. But I like your thinking though. I like that you're putting yourself out there. So awesome stuff. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get somebody we haven't got yet. Marcus85 says, it sucks because the core fan base that grew up with the films are now in their 30s and 40s. We're all getting older. You mean the Elm Street? Older than that, too, in their 50s. I mean, my sister, Jill, is 15 years older than me. She's 55 this year. Well, in 1984, when the first Elm Street came out, she was 20. So she was right there. I wouldn't necessarily say the 30s. I would say the prime fan. I mean, look, there are fans that are in their 30s and in their 20s, and there are fans in their teens right now that love the Elm Street films. But I think if you want to look at the demographic in terms of who was watching those movies when they were the hot ticket item going on in the world of horror, it would be people in their late 30s through their 40s and into their 50s right now. I wouldn't say somebody in there, because, somebody 30 right now would have to have been born in 1989. Well, I mean, Freddie was already tearing it up for 5 years at that point. So, and by the time that person gets to an age where they even can comprehend what they're watching, it's going to be 10 years later anyway. It's going to be 1999. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think more the age group is sort of in their 40s to 50s, I think. But I get what you're saying. But the principle of what you're saying is absolutely right. Let's see here. Electric Drive-In, I like that. Says, yes, Dream Warriors is where the franchise ended. Yeah, for the most part it is. It's you can make the argument for it. You really can. I'm having another shot on my welcome to the shit show shot glass. Of course, it's not alcohol, just some water. If you guys are drinking tonight, cheers, everybody, you fucking sons of bitches. Super chat just came in. Thank you very much, Stephen Dowdy. Thank you, Stephen. Oh, it's an A. What is that? What currency is that? I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to look that up. You are awesome, mate. Oh, it's probably Australia. Most enjoyable YouTube channel by far. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Have a coffee and cake in front of the Halloween house in Pasadena on me. Thumbs up. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe I'll be back this year. You never know. Maybe I'll get nominated for a Voice Arts Award again, because the Voice Arts Awards this year, I believe, are back at Warner Brothers. Yeah, are they back at Warner Brothers? Yes, I believe they are. They are back at Warner Brothers Studios again. So if I happen to get nominated again for something, then obviously I'll be heading down there, and maybe I'll take a quick pass by Pasadena, as I usually do when I'm in LA. I was gonna say Big Hands. Bird Hand says, do you practice the Freddy voice in the deep processed version as well as the higher pitched voice version, like when Englund is on the talk shows? No, I don't. I've never really practiced anything. I just know that Freddy Krueger, when he talks, right, he's more down here like this. You're all my children now, Jesse. We've got a lot of work to do, you and me. That's he's down here like this. That's where he is down here. Right, you know what I mean? And then you can wherever you go from there. But I don't practice that or anything. I just kind of do whatever I do. It's just, I don't know. But I've never sort of done a scene as Freddy, which is what I want to do. I want to get the silicone mask and the sweater and the hat and all that shit and do an actual scene where I'm saying more than that, right? Where I'm actually saying shit and performing as Freddy. That's what I want to do, which is why I want to get the actual costume. But, Freddy's just, the lighter voice with Robert is his natural voice. Even in the Elm Street films, they lowered the pitch. Like when you watch the original Elm Street trailer from 1984, the scene in the movie where he says, "I'm your boyfriend now," that's Robert's real voice. It's like his natural voice. It sounds really weird and doesn't have the same effect in the trailer as it does in the movie. It's, "I'm your boyfriend now," right? But in the movie, they deepen it to, "I'm your boyfriend now," right? They deepen it and they slow it down a bit. So Robert, I don't think at any time during the Elm Street films, I stand to be corrected, I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think at any time throughout the films did he ever deepen his voice. I think they just did that in post. Now that he's older and his voice has deepened, because sometimes your voice will deepen as you get older, when he does the Freddy voice for fans or at conventions or whatever, he'll be like, "Welcome to prime time, bitch!" And he can almost do that now because he's got the gravelly older man kind of sound now. So when he does it, it almost sounds like him now, right? Like it almost kind of, whereas 35, 40 years ago, he was a younger guy. He was younger than me. He was like 34 when he did the first Elm Street, or 35. So he wasn't doing that. But as he's gotten older, he's kind of grown into the voice a bit. So that's sort of how I think that kind of works there. But yeah, the Welcome to Primetime, bitch. Even though part 3 is he's getting a little campy, it's still one of my, it's got to be one of everybody's favorite lines, right? It's like, what the hell does he say? He's like, "This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch." He doesn't laugh after that, but he smashes her into the TV or whatever. It's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Mr. Scary says, "Dave, ever thought of doing a Nightmare fan film?" I have thought about it. Yes, it's one of the reasons, but I can't do it without the proper gear. I have the glove, and I have a hat that could work. Like I'll probably end up getting an official hat, but I have a hat here that could do justice. Maybe put like a couple of holes here or something like that. And it's a hat that definitely could work. I've had this for a number of years, and that for sure could do the trick, especially in dimly lit light. So I might just keep that one. But I need the sweater, an authentic sweater, and a silicone mask, baby. Oh, and look out. There'll be a lot of prime time happening. Jesse. I like that. We've got a lot of work to do, you and me. You've got the body, and I've got the brain. Is what he says, something like that. Yeah, Jesse. No, he's not that deep. Let's see here. Can you imagine? Jesse, come here. I'm like, holy fuck. Sexy Freddy. I think I missed a super chat. Did I not miss a super chat? I did. Anthony Stanfield. Thank you, Anthony. Says, Dave, do you think because this was David Gordon Green's first horror, what was wrong with trying to take on Halloween? Nope. No, not at all. No, I think it was the script. I think, look, there's things I like about that film. And there's a lot of things that I just think were creative decisions that were completely unnecessary that should not have been in there. And there's things that there were a lot of missed opportunities. I think David Gordon Green is exceptionally talented. And I think there are moments in that movie that are pretty good. But there's a lot that are so what they did well, they did exceptionally well, which makes what they didn't do well that much more fucking frustrating and that much more annoying because you notice it that much more. If it was one note all the way through, you'd just be like, meh. But there's moments where you're like, oh, that was good. Or like, oh, I like that shot. Keep it, hold it. No. Oh, damn, why did you move away from it so quickly? Oh, I like what you did. Oh, shit, you know what I mean? So just, he's talented. He's talented. So I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think there was a lot of pressure, but I don't think that necessarily had anything to do with it. Let's see here. Yeah, I gotta put the fucking glove on. I'm feeling Freddy coming back in me. Entertainment Wizard says, Dave, do you think there is any chance we will ever see a director's cut to the original Halloween 2? Well, I think there is a chance, yes. I think so. I think so. There are certain, I wouldn't say, yeah, but you can find a lot of those things. Like you can find the original ending online when Jimmy sits up in the back, in the body bag. There's other things too you can find too. But a cut with it actually in the movie, maybe, yeah, I think you could. I don't know. Guys, I don't know well, I know there's a few people here that have a Freddy glove. If anybody has an authentic Freddy glove, it's like when you put it on, it's like you can't help it. Like he channels you. He channels you inside and you can't help it. You're like, and you can feel him. He's like bursting through you. He's bursting. That's right. The Church of Horror. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but I got fucking Pinhead here. I got Freddy here. I got fucking, what's his face here from Silence of the Lambs? Fucking Silence of the Lambs guy. Why am I drawing a blank on that? Anyway, Scream, Pennywise, Chucky, Michael Myers is somewhere, Jason, The Exorcist, Reagan, there, yeah, Leatherface, Michael Myers way back here, the fucking Church of Horror, bitches, Church of Horror, Hannibal Lecter, thank you, yeah, for some reason I was drawing a blank there. Let's see. The A button says, in an interview for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Paul Rudd couldn't remember the subtitle of Halloween 6. That was so funny. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me at all. I could totally believe that. I mean, it's pretty common knowledge that Paul Rudd wants to pretend that Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, or The Origin of Michael Myers, I think was the original, or Michael Myers 666, that's right, Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers, or something to that effect, was the original. And there's a trailer online for Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, voiced by the great late Don LaFontaine, one of the most famous movie trailer voice actors in the world. I had the wonderful opportunity of talking to Don through email about 2 years before he passed away. He passed away in 2008. And when I was in Hollywood, I actually went to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery and got my picture taken by his tombstone. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, he voiced that trailer. But yeah, that was, but that doesn't surprise me. Paul Rudd fucking hates that movie. Ba-da-da-da. Let's see here. Let's see. Red Ranger 241 says, Dave, would you have a reboot of the Scream movies or have a Scream 5? I would probably do a Scream 5 before I would reboot Scream. Because I just think Scream... You've heard me say this. The concept and the gimmick of Scream has to evolve. Nobody's answering their phones anymore. Again, I'm not saying nobody answers their phones anymore. I'm saying, generally speaking, I cannot tell you the last time I talked on this phone, unless I was talking to my agent, or I was talking to a client or a buyer that I'm doing a voiceover for. I'm talking to a studio downtown Toronto, and we're doing something, or whatever the case is, right? If it's business, yeah. But 9 times out of 10, if I see it ringing, I know it's my agent because it says their name, or it says whoever I'm, But if I don't recognize the phone number, how many of us don't bother answering it? We let it go, to voicemail, and nobody's chatting on the phones anymore. Nobody's sitting there talking on the phone and having long conversations. And again, generally speaking, I know some people do, but everybody is texting now and WhatsApping and tweeting and Instagramming and Facebooking and DMing, and nobody's talking on the phone anymore. So, in 1996, you still had landlines were extraordinarily popular. You would pick up the phone, hello, and the gimmick of Scream would work. Today, to reboot it, you'd have to upgrade it to something very different, like that movie Unfriended. They played on the technology, and you'd have to do the same thing. Although if you do a Scream 5, you would still have to sort of maybe play on the technology. But the hook of a Scream 5 was maybe you could lure, Nev Campbell back and Courtney Cox back and, David Arquette back. And you might be able to get them to come back again, which would help be the driving sort of force for that. But to reboot it all together, it's one of the reasons why I don't think this Black Christmas, I'm not, the Black Christmas thing I'm not crazy on right now. I think the subplot sounds like dog shit. The synopsis sounds like dog shit. And there's nothing there that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a good movie. It could very well be a good movie. But there's nothing in that makes me go, oh, this is interesting. You can't just make a horror movie about somebody stalking teenage girls on a campus, set it at Christmas time, and call it Black Christmas. Black Christmas has a very specific formula and identity to it that made it Black Christmas, one of which is an urban legend that is a little outdated now because of technology. Doesn't mean you can't figure out a way to upgrade it. Doesn't mean it's not going to be good. But the 2006 remake was garbage because they exposed everything. They gave Billy a backstory. They opened it up, and it was just a typical modern day horror film. If you loved it, that's great. I wasn't crazy on it. So I'm skeptical at the very least, and I'm trepidatious at the very most. I don't know. I don't have confidence in a Scream reboot or a Black Christmas reboot. That doesn't mean it's not going to be good, but hey, winning, it solves everything, right? Make a good movie. All right, cool. And I will give Sophia Takal the benefit of the doubt. But that last line about, this generation of young, but the killer is going to find out that this generation of young women are going to, you don't need to tell me that. Don't tell me that, right? What's the first thing about writing a screenplay? The screenwriters in the chat room, what do they tell you? Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me let me see it. Now you've just told me basically that there's going to be this rah thing. I don't need to hear all that crap. That's not what Black Christmas was about. The original Black Christmas, which I watched about a week ago with my buddy Bruce, it didn't end very positively, which is, again, part of the identity. Anyway, I could go on and on and on, but no, the Scream, I don't know. I don't care either way. It's just exhausted for me. Ethan LeBlanc, super chat. Thank you, Ethan. Much appreciated. If you were the one doing the title for that 2020 Halloween movie, what would you make it? Assume it's undoubtedly the last one. The last one? Oh, well, if it's the last one, I would call it, and this is a little bit of a sneak peek into my concept idea, which will eventually come. I would call it, well, this is not really I'm not telling you anything you shouldn't already know if you've been following me a while, because I made a concept little trailer to this back in the fall. I'd call it The Shape. That's what I would call it. What I would call this Halloween sequel, that's no doubt... Look, I can tell you right now that the probability of this Halloween sequel coming out, the sequel to the 2018 film, being called Halloween 2, is very low. The reason why sources are running and saying Halloween 2, Halloween 2, Halloween 2 is because they're using the 2 to define what it is. It's the sequel to the 2018 film. I highly doubt it's going to be called Halloween 2. Okay, it will probably be called Halloween Returns or Halloween. There will probably be some subtitle, because it's not 2, it's the third one. I don't give a frog's fat ass if Blumhouse and Universal thought it was cute to call this remake Halloween, and there's reasons for that. Fine, but you can't call Halloween 3 Halloween 2, and you can't call it 3, and you can't it's a fucking shit show when it comes to titles. So I don't think they're going to call it 2. I think they'll call it Halloween something. That's what I think they're going to call it. But don't call it, Retribution or Resurrection or Redemption. I hate it. So these cliche titles. Even Returns was a little cliche. Just call it The Shape or Halloween The Shape, or something. Yeah, that's what I think. Don't call it Halloween 2. We'll have 3 Halloween 2s, 3 Halloween 1s. It's like, fuck off with that shit. Let's see here. Aaron Prito says, Dave, is Michael Myers your favorite horror icon? Yes, he would be my favorite, yes. Megatron Trap says, I hate sequels that just add numbers. I actually like them. Now, it gets silly when the higher you go. And that's why eventually, many years ago, they decided, especially in horror films is where you really first began to see it, because it's really only horror movies that tend to have an abundance of never-ending sequels, in terms of following the same sort of, continuity, generally speaking. I think calling something Halloween 1, 2, 3, I think 3 is okay, because it almost is a nice sort of trilogy. Like, it feels complete. It feels legit. That feels okay to me. Once you get to 4 and 5, I can understand. Well, even 4, 5. But yeah, once you start passing the half a decade mark in terms of numbers, it sounds a little silly, a little sort of sloppy, right? But it's psychological, because no matter what you call it, it's still the 6th, 7th, or 8th installment. So it doesn't really matter if you call Friday the 13th 7, 7. Well, actually, they do call it 7. But it doesn't matter if you call, Friday the 13th. Like, it doesn't matter if it has the subtitle The New Blood or not. It's still the 7th in the franchise. So, but I get what you're saying, but it's never really bothered me all that much. Anthony Scarpula says, do you like Hammer films? I do like Hammer films. Yes, I do. It's been a while since I've seen some, but I used to watch quite a bit back in the 80s. Aaron Prito follows up with, hey, Dave, this guy I know asked me why Michael Myers isn't real. I don't know what to tell him. Why he isn't real? What do you mean, like a real person? Because he's a fictional movie character. That's why. That's what I would say. That guy says Halloween, the night he came home again. Well, he's already home, though, right? That should have been the subtitle of last year's film. Jacqueline McEwen says, I learned something interesting a few weeks ago. Most movie sequel titles didn't use numbers prior to The Godfather Part 2. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. Well, there weren't a lot of sequels prior to The Godfather Part 2 either. Sequels really started to become a thing in the mid to late 70s, and then really took off because of horror and action films in the 1980s. Now, there were sequels in the 70s, of course, but they just took off like a bat out of hell in the late 70s and early 80s. So The Godfather Part 2 was really sort of one of those films that really kind of was one of its first of its kind in that. Movie Chat and More says Jaws 2. That's right, Jaws 2 was 78. Let's see here. Let me see. Oh, super chat just came in from D-Man1954. Thank you, D-Man. Much appreciated. It's about time I can add a super chat. Love your videos, man. Oh, you can add super chats. You've been able to add super chats on here for about, I want to say, the last 4 months. I think about. Thank you for the super chat and contributing to the channel. Much appreciated. Devontae Hundley, being a dick, says, Dave clearly didn't watch movies of the 1930s and 40s where early horror movies had many sequels. Why is he acting like the sequel bump just happened in the 1970s? Of course, horror movies had sequels in the 1930s and 40s. I'm talking about when they entered the pop culture consciousness as a significant regular thing across many different genres, Devontae. Devontae, stop being a dick. Seriously, man. Like, just stop being a contrarian and just enjoy the chat. All you do is you're just negative, dude. I don't know what the fuck's up your ass, but just contribute or shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, you do nothing. Contribute, have fun. We're all in this together, man. We're in this together. Just be a nice guy. You know, when somebody says something, just say, hey, man, I don't agree. You know, or say this or say that. Just fucking chill the fuck out. Have a beer, get laid, do something. Chill and relax. Be in the chat room and contribute, man. Just contribute and be a cool dude. You can be a cool dude. I know you can. I know you can. I don't know what's up your ass, man. But don't be a dick. Just be cool. We're all in this together, man. Just have chats back and forth and chill out. And just, if somebody says something you don't agree with, just say, hey, man, I see what you're saying, but I don't agree with that. You don't have to call anybody a fucking dick. You don't have to do that. I don't call anybody dicks. Well, except for you. I'm calling you a dick because you're acting like a dick. But I know that you can be not a dick. I know you don't have to be a dick. You're just acting like a dick. But you don't have to be a dick. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference there. You can do it, Devontae. I believe in you, man. You can do it. Let's see here. David says, Dave, do you think the Nightmare on Elm Street houses should have an important role in a reboot like it did in the originals? The original Elm Street house. I don't know. It all depends because they might want to separate, like if you're doing a Elm Street that is in, like, it's bringing back Robert and Nancy and all that shit. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And trivia, for those of you that don't know, many of you already do because it's pretty out there, but for those of you that don't know, the Elm Street house is literally about a 2.5 minute walk from the Doyle and Wallace house with only Sunset Boulevard separating them. Literally. Yeah, 100%. It's amazing. I stayed at the Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. It's a beautiful hotel. If nobody has ever, it's expensive to be fair, but if you can stay there, I highly recommend it because the history of that hotel. That's where the first Academy Awards were held in the 1920s. Shirley Temple used to tap dance on the stairs there. Marilyn Monroe, used to. Clark Gable. I think Clark Gable had a penthouse there. It's a magnificently historic hotel. Anyway, my girlfriend and I, we drove around the corner onto Sunset Boulevard, down the street, turn left. There's the Elm Street house. You go up a block, turn right. There's the Wallace and Doyle house. Pretty awesome shit. Anyway, do I think the original Elm Street house should be in the, like a reboot? Not necessarily, because I think you may want to make it your own, right? You may want to make it your own. So I think the best thing to do would be to sort of find a house that gives that presence. It doesn't have to look identical because there's that fine line between, they're trying to copy it. And if it looks too similar, it might work against you because you might be like, that's not the Elm Street house. That's not my Elm Street house. Okay, fair. So you want it to look different enough, but you want it to you want it to bring that Elm Street vibe where you're like, oh, I see what you did. I see what you did. Okay, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. That's sort of how I think I would play it anyway. Let's see here. Let me scroll back and see what's going on in the chat. Hopefully everybody is... Oh, Nerd Report says the Roosevelt Hotel is haunted. Yes! Yeah, well, it supposedly is. Yes, I agree. I have not experienced anything while I'm there, but a lot of great stories indeed. And shout out to Lewis from the Nerd Report. If you guys are not subscribed to his channel, check his channel out. Really awesome channel. He lives in Hollywood, brings you some updates from the latest and greatest. He's a cool dude, and he was kind enough to treat me to Halloween 2018 at the Chinese Theater the night before it opened nationwide. And Lewis, I think you're awesome, buddy. The next time I am in LA, we are going to hook up. I mean, not that kind of hookup, but you know the kind of hookup I'm talking about, folks. Lewis is awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll definitely get together, shoot the shit, and maybe we'll shoot something or something. That'd be fun. I know there's a lot of people that want to see me when I go out there. So if schedules allow, of course, can't promise anything, but we can try and make it work for sure. Let's see here. Nick, super chat from Nick. Thank you, buddy. Much appreciated. Hey, Dave, what about Andy Serkis as Freddy? Andy Serkis as Freddy. Ooh, that's a good question. I think he's too old. Andy Serkis is, although it depends. I mean, it depends. He's not old, but I don't know how young they want to go. Remember, Robert Englund a number of years ago he himself said, well, what about Kevin Bacon, right? Whenever I think of fucking Kevin Bacon, I think of that boner scene in Friday the 13th. You know the scene I'm talking about. It's like it's perfectly framed when they're bringing the guy out of the water, and there's like, he's clearly put something in his shorts, like some sort of jock strap where his boner looks like it's squared off, like somebody saw what the fuck is going on. Anyway, love you, Kevin Bacon. But people forget that Kevin Bacon is 60 years old. He looks good. He's in great shape. Do I think Kevin Bacon could pull it off? Yeah, maybe. I would definitely want him to audition. I would want to see him in the makeup and in the getup. And that's what you generally do when you're auditioning for characters that their final appearance is going to be something like a Freddy Krueger. You don't just come in and audition them in their, street clothes. I mean, even Robert Pattinson had to put on the bat suit, right? So there's no doubt that if you were auditioning for Freddy, if I was having you come in, I would be putting you, maybe not in the makeup because that would take like forever, but putting you in a Freddy mask, a silicone mask or something to get the idea of what you would look like, have you, walk around, walk up, walk down, do this, do that, do this, all that kind of shit, just to kind of get a sense, right? So yeah, maybe he might be able to pull it off. And obviously under makeup, you can't tell how old anybody is. But I just get because Robert Englund was 35 when he did the first Elm Street. So I get a sense that they may want to go younger, but Andy Serkis is not a bad... it's not. It's interesting. It's interesting. I'm not against it. I would have him come in and audition. How old is Andy Serkis anyway? What is he, like late 50s? Something like that? No, is he late 50s? Is he 40s? Maybe I'm thinking... Somebody will tell me. Tell me how old... Somebody look up how old Andy Serkis is and put it in the chat. I'm going to say 52. We'll say. Let's see here. Somebody I haven't got yet. Charles Lee says, Yo, Dave! Does it bother you, like it does me, that at the beginning of Halloween 2, they changed the way Loomis sees that Michael survived and escaped after shooting him in the fall? The only thing that bothers me about the beginning of Halloween 2, really, is the imprint of Michael on the grass. It's borderline comical. It's borderline snow. Like, how hard did he hit the grass? Because, and again, if you look at, obviously it was shot in two different, locations. One was a backyard, one was a front yard. But if you look at where he lands at the end of the first movie, there's really no grass there at all. There's a lot of dirt and some grass. It looks like a shitty backyard in terms of vegetation. The backyard, at the beginning of Halloween 2, he comes to the door, he looks out, he does this, which he should not have done. He widens his eyes. That means that he's surprised. He should not have done that. But then it cuts and it shows this snow angel outline on the grass, which is borderline comical to me. It looks hilarious. There's no need for that. All you need is just to look at the spot where he was and he's gone. And Loomis goes over, kneels down, and you have the rest of the opening play out as is. Kneels down, puts his hand down, sees the blood, looks up like this. That's awesome, right? And then the guy comes out. It's Tommy Lee Wallace's voice, by the way. I don't think it's Tommy Lee Wallace that's coming out of the neighbor's house. I stand to be corrected, but I don't think that's him. But it's definitely his voice that was added in afterwards, which is like, just what's going on out here? Call the sheriff. Call the police. Tell him he's still on the loose.
Is this some kind of practical joke? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight.
You don't know what death is. Like, all that is great shit, right? But the comical snow angel imprint on the grass is just, it's like, what did he, it's like it's like his outline was burned into the grass. I find it fucking hilarious. So that's really the only thing that bothers me about the opening per se. Also, too, I don't understand why they used a different scene with Laurie, Tommy, and Lindsay, because the dialogue is slightly different. When Laurie knocks on the door, and she's like, come here, babies, and she's like, okay, I want you to listen to me. I want you to go down the street. I want you to go to the Mackenzie's house and tell them to call the police and send them over here. Whatever she says, it's slightly different. There's a couple of words she leaves out. She says it. It's the same thing she says, but she says it in a slightly different way. Why wouldn't you have just used the exact take at the end of the first movie? I don't know. I don't know if they reshot that or what. I'm not sure. Or if that was just an alternate take from the film 3 years prior. That's entirely possible as well. Not a big deal, but just something that I've always noticed when I watch the films, especially when I watch them back to back. All right. Let me see here. Did I miss a super chat? I thought I did. I did. Nick, super chat. Thank you, Nick. Much appreciated. Says, hey, Dave. Oh, no. What about Andy Serkis as Freddy? Oh, I already got that. Okay, good. I got that. Scrolling down here. Looks like Devontae Huntley is behaving himself. That's good, man. That's good, man. Like, if you want, like, we're all in this together, right? And if you want people to take you seriously, then you gotta be, you can be constructive, but you can be chill at the same time, right? We want a dialogue going back and forth. Like, I don't want people to hate you. Nobody wants to hate you. People just tend to hate you because, if somebody's a dick, or if somebody's antagonistic all the time, or a contrarian, or never says anything positive, or starts insulting people in the chat room, nobody wants you around. And if you continue to do that, I'll just block you. And I just will continue to block you over and over and over again. I have no issues doing that. I want you to be here, but you gotta contribute. And I don't, I don't care if you're firm, if you're like, no, man, I don't like that because of this, that, and the other. That's how I feel. And that's my, feelings. I think that's awesome. That's awesome shit. That tells you it means you have standards. But we don't have to be dicks, right? Okay. Let's see here. A couple super chats came in. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. I think you guys are awesome. Stephen Dowdy, super chat. Thank you. Australian again, I believe. Down under. I have yet to go down under. I'd like to visit Australia. That'd be cool. If you are from, I'm assuming it's Australia. I think it is. Hey, Dave, do you like the idea of passing down the evil of the shape to Allison? They almost went with the concept at the end of H4. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of passing down, because that tells me that there's something that potentially leaked out of Michael Myers and moved into Danielle Harris. I don't buy that. I think that if hypothetically they had gone the route with Jamie as a killer or a potential killer, I think the best thing to do is that it runs in the family. I mean, if you when I say runs in the family, is that the psychotic and sociopathic tendencies of one's personality could be passed down. And then you ask yourself, is this, it's a combination between nature versus nurture, right? What part of maybe Jamie's upbringing, it was bound to happen anyway, and what part of it is genetic? Like, that's more fascinating to me, and it's totally legit. You don't need some spiritual force leaking from Michael and entering it. I don't particularly like that. And I know that was lightly alluded to at the end of Halloween 4. I mean, when she touches his hand and he grabs the knife and he's lying there and it's like, I'm like, Jamie, get away from him. And then, of course, at the end, you can make an argument for that's what they were doing. But I don't like that. Because Michael, to me, has always been an enigma. He's been an unknown. He's a human being. He's not Freddy Krueger. He's not Jason Voorhees. He's not literally a supernatural entity, a being. He is human, but there's something weird and unexplainable and supernatural about him. There's an unknown factor, and you keep that unknown because it makes him creepy and eerie. It keeps you on the edge of your seat at all times because you never can figure him out. It keeps him one step ahead of you at all times. It's the unknown factor that has kept Michael, and the more that you explain that away, the more you demystify that, he just becomes like every other horror character. And the coolest thing about him, especially in that first film and this, is that he wasn't like everybody else, right? But he is human. He bleeds. He's flesh. He can, all that. But there's an unknown factor, and I think that's where you have to keep it. I don't like the idea of some literal supernatural entity, like a demon possessing his and Colt Thorne and I just don't like that shit. That's just me. Bobby Hall says, another difference in the TV cut of the original Halloween is that they use a different take when Laurie discovers Linda's body. Oh, really? Yeah. I haven't seen the TV cut in a long time, so I will pop that in. I have a VCR. I'm going to pop that in and watch that. Super chat from JC. Thank you, JC. Much appreciated. Love the channel. Should the next Halloween do away with the Strodes in general? I think they should. You are the man. Thanks for the awesome content, Dave. You're welcome, JC. Well, my concept video that is eventually coming, I'm working on it. I approach that from the position that this is going to be the last Halloween film as we know it. So I do have Jamie Lee Curtis come back, and I have everybody return and some fan favorites return as well. But I'm doing that on the principle that this is it, and I'm pulling out all the guns, and I'm going to deliver on this. I'm going to try and deliver on that, and I'm going to try and deliver on fan service as well. Why not? It's the last one. That's how I'm approaching my concept video that's coming. But I'm not negating anything that David Gordon Green did. In the beginning of the video that you'll eventually watch when it eventually gets put up online, I do say at the beginning, there's 4 or 5 things I go over that are important before I go into it. And I say that one of those things is that I'm not going to Rian Johnson Halloween 2018. I have to, my sequel concept idea, I have to work with the cards I've been dealt. So I'm not going to be throwing any lightsabers over my shoulder. I'm not going to be retconning anything per se. I'm going to work with what I've been dealt, make it my own, put my own spin on it, try to bring it back to what I think it should have been, but still honor what's come before. So, and that includes bringing back everybody that was in the previous film. I think in order for the longevity of the Halloween, and I don't think there needs to be a Halloween series, but for those of you that want a Halloween series, I think for the success and longevity of the series, you have to do away with Laurie at some point. because you're just making the same movie over and over and over and over and over again. I personally, you guys know how I feel. I believe I understand why they didn't do it. 2, I understand that they want to make more. 3, the money. I understand all the reasons why they didn't do it. But if I was the producer, I think I would have pulled the trigger. I would have had Laurie die at the end of Halloween 2018. Not in the back of the truck, but by sacrificing herself to save her granddaughter and her daughter. She dies in the fire with Michael Myers. And her daughter and Allison are watching it happen. And she's, go, get out of here. And she's on Michael and they're fighting and they're struggling and the flames are going up all around them. That's what I would have done. It would have been powerful. It would have given that movie so much bottom weight. It would have been like, fuck, because it's fate. It's fate. It's come full circle. She's going to die with him. That is how you really stop him. Laurie has to die with him. It would have been so powerful. So, anyway, yeah. That's how I feel. Let's see here. Robert Nickerson says Dave McRae is at his best when he's ranting. Yeah, I like ranting. It's fun. It's fun to rant. It's fun to rant. It's fun to rant. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Just scrolling down, just trying to find anything I've missed. Any good ones. There's a lot of comments mixed in with the questions, so I want to see here. James Gaxiola at Dave McRae. Despite its flaws and missed opportunities, do you still consider Halloween 2018 to be a good enough film that you wouldn't mind watching every now and then? Yeah, because of the nostalgia. Not because of anything they did technically in terms of the character of Michael Myers, the visual aesthetic, how they handled the shape, or anything like that. It's purely based on nostalgia. Just seeing Laurie, just seeing Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie again. Wow, that's really cool. You know, to see her stand face to face with Mike. Wow, that's really cool. The characters outside of Laurie are pretty paper thin. Not a lot of development there. The story is, what it is. So there's not really much to grab onto. The music is great. But yeah, I would watch it. Sure. But I still consider Halloween 2, 1981 the sequel to the original. Dun, 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 dun. Ba, 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 ba. The last day breathing in eternal snow. There's Devante stuff going again. Oh, yes. Devante Huntley. He thinks he's got power. Must be a sad life when you're the highlight of your day is coming into a chat room and thinking you have power. Coming into your day. The highlight of your day is coming into the chat room and going,
yeah, what do you think of that, you fucking piece of shit?
Oh, man, I feel sorry for you people. Nick, thanks, Nick, much appreciated. Hey, Dave, how about Paul Dano as Freddy? Paul Dano, who is Paul Dano? I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of the guy. Now, unless I might know his face. Let's see here. Paul Dano. I've never heard of him. I don't particularly. Okay. I think I know who he is. I have no idea. Because I haven't seen him. I would have to see him in. I probably have seen him in things, but I have no idea. The process of finding your new Freddy, in my opinion anyway, there needs to be an audition process, like I said. Because just because somebody looks like Freddy doesn't mean they can do Freddy Krueger. And again, the key to a new Freddy is not doing a Robert Englund impression. It's bringing the essence of Freddy to the role. Like what What's-His-Face did with Han Solo. Yeah, I see that there. I recognize him a little bit, but I don't know him well enough to make a judgment call on that. I'm not entirely sure. Grave Warmer Super Chat. Thank you, Grave. Much appreciated. Can anyone attend TIFF in Toronto? And do you think the 2018 sequel premiere will be held there again? Yes, anyone can attend TIFF in Toronto. It is a publicly attended film festival. It is I believe, the second largest film festival in the world, next to Cannes or Cannes. Yes, now tickets go fast. And if you can't get tickets at the TIFF box office, you can get them on StubHub. But of course, they're a pretty penny. So, yeah, it's pretty tricky. Do I think that the Halloween movie will premiere at TIFF again? It might. It might. I mean, if TIFF is usually the beginning of September. And if they want to release Halloween 2020 October 16th, I mean, they might. And if they do, I'll try and cover it and go there again. Because it's my backyard, right? No. I get the impression that Devontae Huntley doesn't like when anybody disagrees with him. It's fascinating. Fascinating. JC, thanks, JC. Nikolai I've never heard of this guy either. He was in Freddy vs. Jason. Well, it's probably because I fucking hate that movie. And I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I'll take your word for it. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I think the important thing here is that the belief that Robert Englund is the only one that can do justice to Freddy is just wrong. I mean, it's like saying that Nick Castle is the only one that could do justice to Michael Myers. Well, James Jude Courtney did a pretty good job of proving that wrong, right? Now, granted, it's a non-speaking role. It's a little bit of a different role, but the principle is still the same. Look at the Joker, right? Look at, there's a multitude of examples that you can give. So there is somebody else out there that can do justice to Freddy and make you go, wow, he's really good, right? That doesn't mean that Robert will not always be your Freddy, right? But there's somebody else out there that can do it. Let's see here. Deshaun Riley. Dave, how would you rank the Chucky films? Well, I'd put the first Chucky as my number 1. The second Chucky as my number 2. And then probably the Child's Play remake as my number 3. Then Child's Play 3 as my number 4. And then the rest are garbage to me. Michael Myers, do you think Avengers Endgame will beat Avatar in the box office? It might. I mean, there is a re-release this weekend with. I think it's kind of. It's a little cheap to me. I think it just seems a little cheap. To re-release, like, if you want to re-release Avengers Endgame next year, okay. But to do it so quickly, like, we're just gonna pack, because it's clearly just to beat Avatar. It is, because there's nothing that is in, no extra scene, no deleted scene, no post-credit scene is worth going to spend another 3 hours. I guess some people, it might be, but it's just, it's a cash grab. It's just to beat Avatar. It would have to make it nearly another $40 million to do it. Will it do it? It might. But I mean, yeah, I couldn't care less at the end of the day. Dr. Luby says, do you think if the Nightmare remake was good, Jackie Earle Haley, he would get a lot more credit and love as Freddy? Oh, of course. Yeah, 100%. Jackie Earle Haley was great. There was nothing wrong with his Freddy. He was good. It was everything around him that made it so... It was like emo Elm Street. That's what I call the 2010 remake, is I call it emo Elm Street. That's what I call it. The A button. If money was no object, would it be interesting to make all the leaves orange in Halloween 78 using CGI? Is that possible? It probably is possible. I wouldn't do it, though. I wouldn't do it because there's a charm. I like movies the way they are, and that's the way the movie looked in 1978, and that's the way I think it should remain. Now, if there's minor things like a few of the things that Lucas touched up in The Empire Strikes Back, I didn't mind. I didn't mind it. The shit that he did in A New Hope is garbage. It has not aged well. It has not aged well. Because you have this 90s CGI against 70s practical effects. Watching it in 2019, it looks like dog shit. There was no need for it. No need for it. And, the change, there's a few of them, but the change I hate the most is at the end of the Blu-ray of Return of the Jedi, when Vader screams no. So everybody hated him going, no, at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So instead of taking that, it was a poor choice. Instead of taking that out, he tries to justify it by putting it in the end of Return of the Jedi. Vader not saying anything, just looking at Luke, looking to the Emperor, looking back to Luke, looking to the Emperor, is all the words we need. We know what Vader is thinking. We don't need it. We know he's thinking, no. We know it. We don't need to hear it. But Lucas added it in at the end of Return of the Jedi to help give credit and credence, and credibility to the end of Revenge of the Sith. It's dog shit. And Lucas is a genius. He's a genius. But it's like, you don't need, every time I watch Return of the Jedi, I watch the DVD. I watch the special edition DVD. If I'm watching all the movies, I will watch I'll watch the Blu-ray of A New Hope, the Blu-ray of Empire, and then I will watch the DVD of Return of the Jedi, just so whoever I'm watching it with doesn't see that atrocious ending of no. We don't need to hear him say no. Anyway, I got off on a fucking tangent there, but yeah, fuck. There's things that can be modified that are subtle, that are okay. But I wouldn't paint the leaves orange. No, it is what it is. It is what it is. I would just leave it, personally. Aaron Keller says, thank you for the super chat, Aaron. How about Zach Ward as Freddy? He can be sinister. God, all these names you're saying, I have no idea who these people are. It's probably because I don't watch a lot of pop culture shit. Zach Ward. That's okay, I'm looking him up. You don't have to... Zach Ward. I might recognize his face. Okay, Zach Ward. I recognize his face. He's Canadian. He was born in Toronto. He's known for... What are we known for here? Okay, a lot of stuff that I don't recognize. A lot of stuff that... Nothing major in terms of filmography anyway. Dark House, Don't Blink. Yeah, nothing major. I don't know. I don't know anything about him other than he's a Toronto boy. So maybe. You said that he can be sinister, so I will take your word for it there, Aaron. I will take your word for it. There's a lot of things that I'm not recognizing. Wait. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Super chat again from Stephen Dowdy. Thank you, Stephen. Much appreciated. Hey, Dave, are you a fan of the Psycho films? The Psycho films? Would you like to see a Psycho revival of some kind? I love the first one. I've seen the second one. Haven't seen the second one in a long time. And the third one, I'm not sure. The third and fourth one, I'm not sure. There's 4 of them, I think. Well, and then there's the remake from 1998. I haven't seen those. No, I would not remake Psycho because it was remade in 1998. I understand that it was a shot-for-shot remake. I know that people didn't like it. But if you were to remake Psycho today, you would have to up the ante and make Psycho what it isn't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like remaking Psycho today, you would have to turn Psycho into a full-fledged slasher. Like you would probably have a Janet Leigh moment to tip your hat, and then the modernized Psycho would be about like a group of college kids. Their van breaks down and they see this Bates Motel and they go to this hotel to try to get a room for the night, but they're invited up to the house to have dinner with this weird guy. And, you know, it would just turn into that kind of a movie. And maybe that's a movie you want to see, but then it's not Psycho. You know, it's just, so, I mean, maybe if you want to do that, but to remake Psycho as is, I would leave it. It's been done once before and not a lot of people liked it. The Artisan says, at Dave McRae, Sam Rockwell, Freddy. Now, Sam Rockwell is a guy who I definitely know. I mean, I know who he is. I don't know him personally, obviously. Sam Rockwell is a guy who I first saw in The Green Mile in 1999. And he was brilliant in that movie. He was also brilliant in the little independent film Moon. If you guys have not seen the little science fiction film, it's very 2001-esque, but you've got to watch that movie. He's brilliant. He's brilliant in almost everything he's in. Even when the movie is garbage, he's good in the movie. So Sam Rockwell is somebody that if his agent got in touch with me, if I was the casting director and his agent wanted to put his name in to audition for Freddy, I'd say, yeah, because he's talented as fuck. So I'd say, bring him down. He's like a method actor. Like, he's like Christian Bale. Like, and I'm not saying that you get Bale to do it. I'm just saying he's the kind of guy that would, yeah, full on, bring him down. Ba 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 ba. Okay, we'll go for a few more minutes. We'll go for a few more minutes here on this Friday night, June the 28th, 2009. Almost at 19. 205 people still watching. You guys are awesome. Kenny525 says, when are you going to break down and get the Freddy silicone mask? Well, I'm searching for one. Yeah, I've had a few people get in touch with me and give me some links to a couple of the guys that do it. So I just have to get in touch with them and get a silicone Freddy mask. And then I will be doing a few, I also want to get another Elm Street 1 glove. I have this one, which is awesome, as you can see, but I want to get another one as well. And I got to get a sweater too. So there's a few things I still have to get. Ba-da-da-da. Let's see here. Darkness Demon 8 says, what do you think of the 1976 slasher film Alice, Sweet Alice? I have not seen that film in a long time. If it's the one I'm thinking of. I know it, but I got to see that again. There's also, I want to see the original Suspiria again as well. I haven't seen that in a long time. I got to see that again as well. And the original Last House on the Left. Wes Craven there, folks. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Dee-lee-dee. Cody Leach is in the house, ladies and germs. Cody Leach says, I want an unknown actor, even though they're going to cast a big name for marketing's sake. I also want them just to start the story with Freddy active and killing. We don't need another origin, in my opinion. Yeah, very similar to the original Elm Street. Cody is bang on the money. Cody and I have sort of talked about this before, and I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. I think they do need to reboot it because as Cody and I are sort of on the same page here in the sense of that for nostalgic purposes, yeah, I mean, would it be cool to see Heather come back and Robert come back and, you know, maybe a few other characters? Sure. Yeah, of course it would. But then where are you? Because Robert Englund is like 74 years old. He's probably not going to want to continue to. I think the best thing to do is to remake it, but you do it like I said at the beginning of the stream. Now, I'm not going to go into everything I said there. If you want to know my thoughts, just go back to the beginning of the stream. And the first half hour of the stream is me talking about it. So that's what I think you need to do to give you the best probability of success. Winning solves everything. And I am definitely in the camp that a relatively unknown actor to play Freddy is probably your best choice. Robert Englund was a relatively unknown actor in 1984. Now, he had done some things. He was on V. He was the guy next door. He was the boyfriend. He was he had a lot of supporting roles on various shows. And then he landed a regular reoccurring role on V and blah, blah, blah. But he wasn't a household name. It's not like in 1982, if you said Robert Englund, people, would be like, oh yeah, Robert Englund? Fuck yeah, Robert Englund. What do you got? Robert Englund, you got, Robert Redford. He wasn't a household name. And of course, he became Freddy in 1984. So he was a relatively unknown guy, but he had great acting chops, and he had a great theater background as well. So I agree with Cody at the end of the day that really an unknown is probably your best bet, or a relatively unknown. Like even Jackie Earle Haley, he's Academy Award nominee, or Academy Award winner, actually, I believe. But he's not. He's still relatively unknown. You say Jackie Earle Haley to the horror fandom, people know who you're talking about. You say it to the casual person on the street, not necessarily. He was a interesting choice, right? It wasn't a Kevin Bacon, where everybody knows who Kevin Bacon is, regardless of whether you're a horror fan or not, right? So I agree. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle there, and I think you need to reboot it and bring it right back to its roots, what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream. So Cody and I, we share similar agreement there. Now, whether they're going to do that, that's a whole other ball game. Folks. Okay, we'll go for a few more minutes because I've been on here for 2 hours now. So a few more minutes. Summer Johnson student says, hey Dave, curious if you have seen the movie Gone Girl. That's going to be my Friday night. I have seen the movie Gone Girl. I went and saw it in the theater in 2014, I believe it came out, and I really enjoyed it. I had not read the book by Gillian Flynn, I think. My girlfriend had read the book prior to going to see the film. And so we had two different perspectives, but I quite enjoyed that movie. I can't say I loved it, but I love the mystery aspect of it. And the premise, I think, is really cool. And it's well executed. David Fincher. I mean, David Fincher, Jesus Christ. I mean, is there a movie that is not good? I mean, Seven, Fight Club, The Zodiac, Gone Girl, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo from 2011. I mean, you can say that, that was a good American remake. The only reason why they didn't do a follow-up to that was, now it didn't make the money they were hoping it was going to, but the reason why they didn't do a follow-up is because Daniel Craig wanted too much cash. So yeah, David Fincher, anytime Fincher's attached, I'm in. Okay, couple more here. Let's see here. Sure Morning says, happy Canada Day weekend. Oh yeah, that's right. Canada Day. Canada Day, for those of you Americans that may not know, is July the 1st. That's our essentially Independence Day. And we were granted our independence, removing ourselves from a British colony, essentially, and giving ourselves some independence in 1867. So we're much younger than you guys south of the border, but July 1st is Canada Day. So July 1st and July 4th, we celebrate our independence together pretty close. So it's our long weekend this weekend, where your long weekend, I think, is next weekend. So yeah, that's right. So for those of you that don't know, I'll tell you now, Two Dudes and Some Bullshit will not be this Sunday night. I'm going to make an announcement, but it's not going to be this Sunday night. It will be this Tuesday because of the long weekend. Okay. So just so you guys know. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what we got. This is great. Friday night had consistently over 200 people in the room. That's awesome. You guys rock. Let me take another shot of water. Where's my shot glass? That's right. My welcome to the shit show shot glass, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the shit show shot glass. Cheers, you fuckers. Wait a minute. How would Freddie do it?
Cheers, fuckers!
There you go. Oh, wait. Did a super chat come in? There was a little super chat from Nick. Thanks, buddy. Much appreciated. Dave, watch Fincher's show Mindhunters on Netflix. I've heard some good things about it. I will definitely check. Right now, I'm in the middle of watching season 2 of Dark. If you guys have not checked out Dark, oh, it's brilliant. Love the concept. Now, it's a German film, and everything is dubbed over. So everything is ADR'd. Okay? And if you don't mind watching a show that is like watching a kung fu film, it's brilliant. I think Dark is just amazing. And so far I'm on episode 2 of season 2. Love Dark. It's just awesome. So if anybody likes Dark, or just look up the premise, watch 1 or 2 episodes, and you'll be hooked. I think anyway. I think it's awesome. All right. Another super chat. It's about how serial killers came to be. Oh, yeah. I think I know the show you're talking. Yeah. Like I said, I've heard good things. I will definitely try and check it out. All right. One more question. We'll go 2 more. James Gaxiola, Dave McRae, would you take on the role of Freddy yourself? Yeah, of course I would. If they came to me and said, Mr. McRae, we'd like you to come in and audition for Freddy, of course I'm going to do it. 100%. 100%. But there's more to Freddy than just going, welcome to prime time. Ha! I don't know. Oh my God. That's just me, doing a caricature of Freddy. If I was literally going to don the glove and the fedora, there's a physicality that comes with being Freddy Krueger. I would have to make it my own, but still bring the spirit of what Robert did. But would I absolutely love to take on the opportunity and the job? Yeah, I think I would do my very best to make everybody happy. I think that would be awesome. Okay, one more. And again, as usual, if I did not answer your question, it's nothing personal. I think all you guys are awesome. It's just with so many people in the chat room and the chat going by fast, and I'm always really thorough with my answers, as you guys know. Next time around, I probably will. So last one here. Let's see here. The last one. Oh, I see Devontae Huntley still being a dick. Well, that's okay. He can be a dick. It's just a matter of time before he's blocked. Devontae, it's, you know what, buddy? It's just sad. I think it's incredibly sad that you feel the need to be so. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I don't know where you're from. I don't know, it's just sad. It's just too bad, man. It's too bad. But, Gotta live life. Gotta live life. What was I going to say? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. That guy says, Dave, apparently you already blocked him. Oh, I blocked Devontae about 5 or 6 times. He just, he's not all there, right? So he creates multiple accounts and comes on and that's what he does. He'll create multiple accounts and just come on in and start doing his thing. I think it says more to him than it does anybody else. The best everybody can do, because I can block him, but he'll just make another account. The best everybody can do is literally, every time he posts, say nothing. The best you can do is to say nothing. Don't feed him. Aaron Keller says, this will be the last one, folks. Super chat. Thanks, Aaron. Much appreciated. Dave, would you please answer at Smiley Caitlin 20? Oh, Smiley Caitlin 20. My apologies, guys. Smiley Caitlin 20. Is this the one here? Dave, are you happy they are making a Halloween 2? And what is the Elm Street? And when is the new Elm Street coming out? Is that your question? I believe it is. Okay, am I happy they are making a Halloween 2? I wouldn't say I'm happy. I would say that I'm indifferent. As I said earlier in the stream, I didn't like the 2018 film enough where oh my God, I need to see what happens next. I think Laurie should have died in the fire to give the movie some weight, but it didn't end. How it ended didn't make me think, oh my God, I got to see what happens next. So I really couldn't care less either way. But Halloween's always fun to talk about and cover, and it's always fun to go watch a Halloween film to see what they do, right? In terms of Elm Street, and when is the Elm Street new one coming out? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I think New Line right now, I believe, I think it's New Line anyway. Anyways, the studio that has the rights, I believe they're focused right now on the Conjuring universe. So I think they would like to tackle Elm Street, but I don't believe they're in any rush to do so. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's my answer to that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me on this Friday night chat. I think you guys are awesome. Thank you to each and every one of you that contributed with super chats that help support the channel each and every month. You guys are awesome. Also, thank you to everybody who contributed in the chat room by talking amongst each other, answering questions, being intelligent and insightful, and all the questions you guys asked outside of the super chats as well. I think you guys are awesome. Sincerely, I mean that. I say that at the end of every live stream because I mean it. Without you guys here, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be talking to myself. When I joined YouTube, I've joined 13 years ago, but when I began doing this on my channel, putting my face out there, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I'm just over 17,000 subs now, which I think is awesome. I'm not a movie reviewer, so I'm not posting all the time. So for 17,000 subs for a guy that just talks about movies and what he wants to talk about, it's not bad, and we'll see where it goes. And you guys are a part of it. I think you guys are awesome, each and every one of you. And to the people in the chat room that are being dicks, that like to be dicks, stop being dicks! The fuck, man? The hell? Don't be a dick! Come on! Let's all have some fun! Fuck! You know who you are. Welcome to prime time, Devontae! Of course, every time I mention his name, he probably loves it. It gives him credibility. He's talking to me! He's talking to me! All right, guys. Have a good night, and I will talk to you guys soon. You guys are awesome. Alrighty. In the meantime and in between time,